Joining me now to discuss travel is this travel and aviation expert, Bobby Laurie. Bobby, I love this background here. It's like you're on a plane, hopefully not a Boeing plane right here. But let's start with Boeing. You know, it feels like recently we keep talking about one disaster after disaster after disaster. But over the years, Boeing has faced a series of different crises. This has predated this. We're talking about issues back in 2018 and 2019. Looking at it from your perspective, can they bounce back?
Oh, yeah, Boeing can definitely bounce back from all of this, and just as you mentioned, they're still dealing with the fallout from the most recent events being the Alaska Airlines door plug incident, and then also the things that we've heard happen to the 737 MAX since that incident. And then let's not forget that when the MAX rolled out, it was initially grounded by the FAA for an extended period of time because of those incidents and crashes that we had overseas. Luckily, none of them occurring here. Now, what you were talking about before, too, with the sales slump when it comes to Boeing, it is true that in the last couple of months, Boeing has not seen any sales for the 737 MAX, but they are seeing sales for some of their other aircraft. In fact, I believe they just had an order come in for 787s. Now, the FAA is watching, and they do have an oversight group over the 737 MAX production because of these issues, and that's slowing down the overall process and also probably leading to their sales slump.
Well, slow and steady is what we want if we're building planes and needing to make them safe. But where do travelers fit into all this? Right behind me back there is our control room, and my EP Doug is in there, and he's not a very happy flyer. He doesn't love it, and he has a trip planned. Should he be nervous to get on a plane?
So no, you definitely should not be nervous to get on an airplane. Now that we understand what some of these issues are, and we do have the FAA Oversight Committee watching the production of them, we're kind of hyper-focused on how these aircraft are currently being built. So I would not be nervous about getting on a plane at all. The 737 has been around since the late 60s, and we've seen various generations of them over the years leading up to where we are now with the 737 MAX. They have a long record of being extremely safe. So this is nothing that you should really be worried about. And of course, once you realize that there's been one incident, everyone becomes focused on all the other little things that might happen. And all of these things actually happen on an everyday basis, not the door blowout, obviously, but a lot of the smaller things like blown tires. That happens every day, and that doesn't usually make the news.
So let's pivot over to American Airlines. In a statement, American Airlines says, quote, "We continue to meet regularly with the APFA and recently increased our current offer to include an immediate 25% increase to flight attendant pay, which includes the addition of boarding pay. We're ready to get a deal done quickly and are back at the negotiating table this week to do that." Now, how likely do you think they're going to come to a resolution? I mean, 2019 is a long time to not get a collective raise.
Yeah, it is a really long time. And it's very hard for airline employees to actually go on strike because of the outdated Railway Labor Act. And that being said, airlines do use this to their advantage when it comes to negotiation. But we haven't found ourselves this close to an airline strike since 2010, when the National Mediation Board released Spirit Airlines pilots to strike. And, I think if you do have tickets planned for the late summer, early fall, you really should pay close attention to what's happening, especially if you're booked on American Airlines. But if a strike does happen at American, if American doesn't come to the table and give the flight attendants what they're asking for, or at least an increase over 2019, even if you're booked on the competing airlines, you really should be paying attention, because if American does go on strike, all of those empty seats on the other carriers will quickly fill up, and that's going to drive prices up as well if you haven't already booked your travel.
It can be chaotic and even dangerous. I mean, flight attendants do a whole lot more than make sure we get, drinks and snacks on the plane. They're really there to ensure safety. So we need them to come to the table so that these people don't strike.
It's absolutely true, because also when they're on strike too, their annual training does not take place either. So even if they do go on strike, and let's say it only lasts a month, and during that month, there might be a couple thousand flight attendants that could pass through their annual training that would then have to do that when the strike is over, causing a backlog. And we might find ourselves in that same crew scheduling situation that we found ourselves in the last 2 years coming out of the pandemic, where there's more flights than there are crew members, since everyone has to become recertified.
Let's hope that doesn't happen, because the airports are enough of a headache as it is. Bobby Laurie, thank you so much for joining us today.